while back, we had my personal 426 HEMI on video asking you viewers to find the missing link on this engine. Well, I thought I would have a few comments, but I was overwhelmed that we hit over 1,000 comments. I'm gonna try, like I do many nights, I go and answer as many comments as I can. It's very hard to catch up when you're at 1,000+ comments. I like to answer as many as I can, but there's a lot of repeats. That's why we're here today, to help you out with a few hints. I'm very impressed with the knowledge of some of the viewers of what they were naming some of the pieces. But you know what? I want to give everybody a fair chance. So we're going to go through my list one by one and go into the details. What is not the missing link, of course. And I want to give you a few more hints to help everybody and everybody be fair and have a good chance of winning this. We'll start with this here. The most common was the air-fuel ratio on the secondary carburetor. First of all, this is the secondary carburetor and this is the primary carburetor. Everybody was asking about the idle air-fuel mixture screws. Look at the rear carb. The engine on a 426 HEMI idles on the rear carburetor. So in that gear, 6970, these are the air-fuel ratio mixture screws right here on the primary carburetor. Then on the secondary carburetor, which is right here, many of you were guessing that I removed the screws. Well, here it is. This is the way it comes from the factory. They're deep inside so that the general plug-in does not tamper with them. And this is the way they came from the factory. They're in there, so for that reason, I did not take them off. And of course, this is not the missing link. The other item that many of you viewers were mentioning was the dipstick and the tube to the engine. That surprised me because it was well seen in the first video. Here, it's right here. Right here, see it? There's the tube, there's the dipstick with the white handle. And someone asked me at one time, there's no oil in the engine. But let's find out. There it is, there is oil in the motor. Some of you have commented that the oil filter was missing. Actually, it's right here in front of the engine. And by the way, this oil filter came from my brother's store, which of course he supplied some of the parts for this engine. And of course I'm using his oil filter for my display here. And then I had a few more comments on the negative ground strap was missing. Here it is. It's attached to the front of the cylinder head, above the power steering pump, and it's just hanging right here behind the power steering pulley. And here it is. And this goes to your battery. Someone commented on the ground strap and the rear, on the rear intake bolt, which is right here, that goes to the firewall. But since I'm planning to put this in an e-body, that ground strap does not go on an e-body, so I don't put it. And for that reason, this is not the missing link. Nice guess. Keep looking and keep trying. Another comment that was common with you viewers was the thermostat. So if you looked at my video very closely at 102, you can see it clearly that the thermostat is in the engine. Here it is. See? It's there. And of course, also the water temperature sensor, which is right behind the alternator bracket, right over here. See? It's plugged in, very hard to see. I couldn't blame you guys on that one. That was my fault because maybe you couldn't see it very clearly on the first video. But right now I'm showing you to exactly that it's there and it's clear. The missing link on the engine is something that's not hidden. I'm not hiding it. It's in an open area. So for that reason, I'm not trying to trick anybody or fool anyone, but it is actually missing, but I don't hide it in a small place like this, for example, like the temperature sensor. And there was another couple of comments I had on the hose, the vacuum hose from the distributor, which is the advance on the curve on the distributor, which is right here, right here. It's very well exposed. It's on the distributor, going along the fuel line, attached to the fuel line, and also right here into the carburetor. So you can see, it's all there. And some of you commented that I was missing the tags on the carburetor. Here they are, genuine 1969 tags on both carburetors. But then again, you don't need the tags to have the engine running, but I don't know why that came up. But anyways, here they are. And also the tag for the distributor. There it is. That's there also. Many of you viewers have mentioned how come the filters are not here or they're missing. Well, they're not missing because the fuel filters are in line beside the carburetor were 1966-67. What I've got here is a 69-70 layout. And for that reason, that's why the fuel filter is right here, which is a 6970 setup. And it's also called a fuel vapor separator. And any vapors gets returned back to the fuel tank with this little return line. And many of you viewers mentioned that the timing tag was not there. Well, it's right over here, right beside the fuel filter. Good try, nice guess. Now this setup also comes with two screen filters inside the carburetors, right behind the fittings here. They are there, so those are not missing. They are inside. For a lot of you viewers who are not familiar with the 426 HEMI, this brass distribution block is not a regulator. It's just the line coming in from the carburetor and splits into two for the dual quad setup. So this is not a regulator. It's just a distribution block splits into two for the carburetors. I had a few other comments, not very popular, but I want to mention it anyways. Some of you guys have mentioned that the power wire on the alternator was not there. Well, here it is. Maybe you didn't have a clear shot on the first video, but I'm showing to you here very clearly, zoomed in, so you guys can see it. It's all there. And don't look at these green wires, brown wires. These go to the horns and the windshield washer, but that's another story. For many viewers, we're bringing up the issue that there's a belt missing on the alternator. All you viewers have seen the dual pulley on the alternator, but only one belt. But that is the way it comes from the factory. And this is the reason why Chrysler did it, I believe. They put a smaller pulley on the water pump, which came further out. Maybe they used something that was in stock. Maybe they wanted to put a smaller diameter. Maybe they wanted to bring up the RPM on the water pump, or whatever the reason. And once they installed this pulley, the belt did not line up with the alternator. So what they did is they took an alternator, instead of remodifying all the brackets and bringing the alternator out, they just installed an AC pulley on the alternator. And of course, it lined up with the pulley on the water pump. So instead of redesigning the bracketry, put an AC pulley on the alternator with one belt, and it does the job. It was a lot cheaper that way, I guess. And for what reason they used it that way and this pulley, I'm not sure, but that's my guess. For all of you viewers that were mentioning the AC compressor, air conditioning, well, they never came from the factory with air conditioning. No HEMI car or 446 pack came from the factory with air conditioning. Ow. And that is the reason why 426 HEMIs only come with a single groove water pump pulley. That was a good guess, but it wasn't that. And of course, as we were talking about the air conditioning, AC pump, compressor I should say, a lot of people were fooled by this bracketry right here. This here is for the heater hoses. They go from this fitting and this fitting, they come right here and they go right into your firewall where the heater is. And that for that reason, this is not an AC bracket, it's a support for the heat hoses. And that again is not the missing link. No HEMI 426 HEMI comes from the factory with an EGR valve. So don't look for that, and it's not the missing link. If you look closely, it is not there. This is the way it is. And a few viewers have mentioned the bracket on top of the coil here that holds in the spark plug wires. Yes, it is missing, but that's for the 60s setup with the chrome air cleaner. But I'm doing a 1970 layout here. So I'm using the bracketry right here on the intake bolt and not the one on the coil. So, sorry, that is not the missing link. And then I have someone made a comment on that the drain plug was missing. I believe he was talking about the drain plug on the oil pan. As you can see, right over here. It's right there. It should be there because this isn't as oil and we took it off the dyno. And it's very clearly right here at 527 on my first video. You can't miss that. Our number one comment, what was missing on the engine that most of you viewers were saying was the flex plate or the flywheel. And I did mention at 640 on the first video that had nothing to do with flywheels, flex plates, or any kickdown linkages, or anything related to a 4-speed or an automatic transmission. The reason I don't have it here, because it has nothing to do with the engine, and second of all, I don't know if this engine is going to end up with an automatic car or a 4-speed. And also, someone also mentioned something missing in the back of the cam. But if you guys are talking about the plug behind the cam, it's there, right here. You can't miss it. And a few guys mentioned the air cleaner, or some of you guys call it breather. It's right here at 109 on my first video. You see it on the top of the Coca-Cola machine, and here it is. It's not detailed yet, but it's all here. So that is not the missing link either. Many of you guys who are familiar with the 426 HEMI said that the power steering cooler was missing. Yeah, that could be possible, because this is a dilemma. Many HEMI cars come with the power steering cooler, that they were 4 speeds, or they had a super track pack, 354 ratio, 355 ratio, or the 410 package. Yes, when they have power steering, it comes with the power steering cooler. But I've seen once a 1970 HEMI Cuda automatic with a 323 ratio with an 8¾ that did not come with the power steering cooler. For that reason, I did not put a power steering cooler on, because if I build my Challenger and it ends up being an automatic transmission, I would most likely put a 323 ratio. And for that reason, you don't put a power steering cooler on it. Good shot, but it's not the missing link. And another few comments I heard was the heat raiser valve. It's clearly right here on the right hand side exhaust manifold. Right here. You can't miss it. It is all there. The spring, the counterweight, the shaft, all here. A few of you also mentioned that the PCV valve was missing, but it is clearly right here. Also attached to the vacuum hose to the rear primary carburetor. This is it, right over here. This is the PCV valve. There's the breather, or what you guys want to call it, breather ventilation for the crankcase. For 1970, some people mentioned that it should be a dual tube. True, but this is a 1969 carbs, okay? And because these are 1969 carburetors, they do not have the tube from the bowl vent to go to the breather. And this is the reason why I only put a breather with a 1 tube. A few of you also mentioned that there is a bolt missing on the power steering pulley. That is not true. It is not missing. The reason it's threaded, it looks like a bolt went there, is because this is a tool that's used to press on the pulley on the power steering shaft. And for that reason, this is the way it is. The only thing missing here was black paint to be painted. That's the way it was painted after the pulley was installed on the pump. But it is not the missing link. And a few more viewers are asking me the starter's missing. I don't know, it's easy. It's right behind the left side exhaust manifold. Here's the starter, right here. And then again, here's the heat shield. So they're both here, and both bolts are attached on the front side. So there's nothing missing here. The wiring, the starter, the heat shield, and the bolts. It's all there. All 1969, 1970 426 HEMIs come with the same choke setup. Here it is. It works off a spring to operate the butterfly choke door on the carburetor. It works by getting heat on the spring inside the choke chamber through a tube insulated that goes from the exhaust manifold. So as you can see here, it has a vacuum source inside the carburetor, inside the choke chamber, picks up the heat right from the exhaust manifold, brings it right up, brings the heat up into the spring, warms it up, and operates the door. And for that reason, there is no linkage between the choke and the intake manifold on a HEMI engine. Nice try, but that's not it. And there was another very good comment from a lot of you viewers, which all of you guys know that I'm looking for a car for this engine, and all of you have mentioned that the Challenger or the car is missing. Well, that is great. I love what you guys said, but of course it is not the missing link. And this item that is missing on my engine here, it's a small item. And you know what? It is a very hard item to find, because you have to see a complete restored 426 HEMI that is completely all original to find the missing link. So like many cars with HEMI engines don't have this piece because they're not detailed to 100% like this one is. So the thing is, to find that piece, but like most of you people not familiar with the 426 HEMI, it'll be very hard. But you know, I see you guys are trying. It's fun. I love it. Thanks for watching. We're going to see you guys in the next video. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep reading as many comments as I can. And I'm going to answer as many as I can. And we're going to take it from there.